Welcome back to the channel. So today we are talking about another book. So this is Everyday Sun Magic by Dorothy Morrison. So overall, this is a really fantastic book if you are just wanting to get some ideas for sun magic. I do think this would have been a little more helpful earlier in my practice than it is now, but if you are just starting to kind of need some ideas and things, definitely a great resource to pick up. It is a fairly large book, but a lot of it is the spells and stuff at the back. But there is a lot of information at the first part of this. So this book, it does have a few kind of main focuses, and in some of the other reviews that I've seen, some people have an issue with that. So the first major point is that a lot of this book has to do with astrology, and if you're not into astrology, you're probably going to be bored. The author hones in on the idea of your sun sign and working with that kind of energy a lot. So you have a lot of Aquarius and Sagittarius, and if the sun is in Cancer, then you should do these things, and the days of the week and being ruled by various planets and stuff like that. It tends to have a little bit more astrological things, which for me is cool. I'm interested in that. It's one of the things that I want to eventually learn a little bit more about, so that was fine for me, but other people would probably have an issue with that, especially if it's not a topic you care about. Same with the fact that this is super duper duper Wiccan. If you don't like Wicca books, probably not for you. Now, this was one part when I was Wiccan that I didn't love, and I always kind of struggled with it, and I tried to force myself to like it, but it's the idea, we're really familiar with it from the goddess of Maiden Mother Crone, which doesn't leave a lot of leeway for life choices, such as not having kids. Like, sometimes those messages get a little obnoxious. And so needless to say, this book definitely followed in suit. It had a lot of the male equivalent. So instead of the triple goddess, you have the fivefold god, which I have seen in a few other books. I think, if I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I read these books, but the Avalon tradition by Kathy Jones had a lot more of the fivefold goddess deal, where you have like child, maiden, lover, mother, no wait, is it? I think it's maiden, lover, mother, sovereign, crone, I think. And the equivalent here is you have like the infant, child, the lover, teenager, father, kind of a warrior-ish deal, and then sage, also just kind of like the grandfatherly figure. Which again, if you like to have that at one point in my practice, it would have been something I would have wanted to explore at least. And so if that is something you're interested in learning a little bit more about, it is based on that a lot. I'd say that's more of an emphasis than even the astrology side, and the astrology side was pretty strong. The only thing I really struggled with for this book was the inclusion of angels. I don't love that. Some witches are fine to include it. Personally, I don't. And they did actually have a quote on it talking about how angels aren't necessarily Christian. Every culture's had that, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't remember ever, before I was pagan or otherwise, in all of my history classes, ever once has it been mentioned that angels were a part of Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, the Celts, the Vikings. I don't remember that being brought up. I feel like that would have been a point we would have cared about. So I don't know. In some of the other reviews, they did mention like the historical inaccuracies, and like if they're topics you're interested in, like please research further. So I don't know if it falls into that category, but like I don't like angels. I don't love it at all. I hate the concept. Like I don't love it. It's too Christian for me. I don't want any bits that feel very Christian in my practice. I know it gets kind of a gray area when you think about like pulling ancient practices, because it kind of mingled for a while and stuff. But like very modern, you think of the thing, you think of a Christian thing. I don't love that much at all. And again, that's a me thing. Other people are fine including angels. I just find it a little weird when you have like so much Wicca stuff, and then it's like, oh, but then you also have, you know, Archangel Michael and Raphael. And it's like, no, don't love that. Not even a little bit, no. So that was the only major thing that I didn't like. Other things is people were like, they didn't include warnings about using mugwort in some of the recipes, which I'm like, yeah, but like also kind of a given. Like, you should be cautious using anything. Like, stuff can counteract all the time, cause issues. If you're going to ingest something, you should probably know how it's gonna work for you specifically before doing such, but I could see why they would say to research it. I did just flip through it just to be sure, because sometimes Llewellyn will include at the beginning of their books like a little snippet warning of like, hey, if you're gonna use these herbs, like, talk to a licensed professional before you do that, kind of a deal. But I didn't actually see it in there, so maybe that does have some validity of like, there should be a warning. Overall, I would say this book is definitely one I'm glad I picked up. There's a lot of stuff that I will be including, and even though, like, the author, like, she is a Wiccan priestess, so naturally, like, yeah, it's gonna have a lot of Wicca stuff, and I'm not really Wiccan anymore at all. I'm fine making it work for the way it needs to for my practice. Like, I'm not going to be, like, going to the morning sun and being like, oh, infant sun. Because no. Like, I don't love the idea of marking the moon phases or the sun phases with points in your life, because you can have new beginnings at a various time in your life. So I kind of feel like being like, oh, but it has to be an infant, like, or like the crone, you know, like, we're only going to experience those times for such a short amount of time of your life. So anyways, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all soon.